Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today to this very special Lunch and Learn session. It's special to us because this is a program that we have been working on since over the summer. We applied for a grant from the Broadway League and we're lucky enough to receive the grant award, and we're finally here with you today for the first of our 3 workshops. So we hope if you're here today and you enjoy what we're doing that you'll come back next week. We'll talk more about that at the end. I missed the most important part. My name is Melanie Jupp. I work in the education department at the Smith Center, along with Candy Schneider in the back. We're both part of the education team over there. Just by a quick show of hands, have you been to the Smith Center yet? Great, that's everyone, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Well, as Jasmine already mentioned, today's session is on photography as a storytelling device. So I'm going to turn it over to the people who are much better at these things than I am. We have 2 fabulous artists with us today. We have Jerry Cody and Kate St. Pierre. They are very instrumental to everything that we do in the education department, and we are so happy to have them. So please help me welcome Jerry and Kate.
So I'll be the photographer. I'm the one with the camera in my hand. I've been asked to not only talk today, but do other duties. So if you see me shift gears, I apologize. Photography is what I do. Speaking is just something other. So my natural environment is here with this instrument. So I will hand you off to Miss Kate.
Oh boy, it's set up. Thanks, Jerry. So my name is Kate St. Pierre. I am a teaching artist for the Smith Center. I'm glad to see so many people raise their hands. I've seen shows over at the Cabaret Jazz too. I went to the Cabaret Jazz yet. Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And we're so thrilled that we have the opportunity for the Bridges of Madison County, the musical, to come. And we thought, what a great opportunity to invite our neighbors next door at LouRuvo for a workshop. So, has anyone read the book? Bridges of Madison? Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Seen the movie, Meryl Streep, nominated for an Oscar. Awesome. The musical actually won 2 Tonys. One for its music, which next week, that is what we'll be doing. We'll talk more about that later, as Melanie said. Next week we'll be doing music and movement and memory. But this week we're going to talk about photography and memory and storytelling. And just go a little bit over the story. I'm glad so many of you have seen it or read the book. It's a compelling love story about an Italian war bride, Francesca, who's now a housewife living in Madison County with her husband. And her husband and the 2 kids leave for the state fair for 3 days. And when a traveling photographer sent on by National Geographic to take pictures of the bridges in Madison County, the famous covered bridges, he stops by her house. He's lost, and they form an immediate connection, and love affair. It lasts 3-4 days, and she chooses to stay in the end with her family rather than run off with him. So it's this beautiful story. And one of the things that we loved about that was Robert Kincaid is a photographer, and we thought we would talk about the photographs and the elements of photography and storytelling. So we know photography and storytelling, but can anyone tell me anything else? What's the other way that we can tell a story?
Music.
Music. Please come next week. Music, absolutely music. You know, we can just, even in a classical piece, just a solo instrument can tell us so much. It can tell us a story. It can be a subject. It can be the main character. Great. I mean, even like Peter and the Wolf, you know, where each instrument tells a story as a character. What's something else? Another way?
Oral storytelling.
Oral storytelling. Beautiful. Language. Right, absolutely. Anything else?
Food.
Yes.
Dance.
Movement. Oh, we can tell so much. Beautiful. Anything else?
I think food.
I was just going to say, I smell lunch, right? This is bringing me right back to, right? Absolutely, smell. Oh my gosh, the smell of the holidays. It's why we have those scented candles that take us. Or you can walk in like my daughter's room and smell that we need to do laundry. You know, it gets you right back to memories, even in my childhood. So wonderful memories. So we're also going to talk about some elements of storytelling, you know, the subject and ways, quickly. Good. Well, we see in a photo. You know, I'm actually going to pass it right over. I do the same thing as Melanie. So I'm going to introduce Jerry. Jerry has established a distinguished career that encompasses more than 37 years as a professional photographer. She's chronicled education and students at every level, from kindergarten through high school, during her time at the Clark County School District and Bernhard Williams. To her 13 years at the University of Nevada, UNLV, she has won numerous awards for her photography, including a National CASE Grand Gold Award for her teamwork on invention, a book of photo essays illustrating how scholars' donations transform students' lives. Please correct me if I'm awesome. She received the Faculty Excellence Award and was named Teacher of the Year by UNLV's Division of Education Outreach in 2010. Her career has included photo and visual editing and such projects as the Power of Higher Education campaign. Her photo installations graced multiple buildings in the UNLV campus, and critical acclaimed exhibition Down the Colorado was displayed at the Barrett Museum. Yay! Jerry mentored other photographers and visual artists while building infrastructure and photographic resources necessary for UNLV's online and printed communications. And Jerry, I can't wait to see these gorgeous photos that she's taken. She's going to tell us a little bit about
Photography. So just know I retired from all of that in a bag of chips. Cinco de Mayo of 2015, so I am now footloose and retired and trying to figure that out. So it's like a whole new world. So yes, I've spent my life doing photography. I stumbled into this amazing career at the state fair when I was a junior in high school, and someone noticed my work. I got an award for something, and I got offered this job. And nobody makes a career out of a photography. It's, I think, very close behind professional athlete. Nobody can actually make a living doing this. My mother instilled that thought in me very early and said, you'll be going to the university now. And I have a degree in criminal justice and have promptly not used it since the day I graduated. I feel really lucky to have spent a career doing exactly what I love, and have never really worked a day in my life. And I remember hearing all those stories about if you find something you are passionate about, you'll never work, and I did. And I feel really lucky. So my new passions are, besides photography, are fishing and gardening. So I'm working on that, and I even took a ukulele class, so Lord help us all. So I'm supposed to have my clicker. We'll go to the next slide. So why do we take photos? Why do we even bother? I would tell you, my answer is because I breathe, because I have to, because there's no choice in the matter. You know, it's a musician, what do they play? It would feel the same way. It's what we do, it's who we are. I wake up thinking about how does this look, how does the light fall? If I framed it this way or that way, what would I see? It's everything. I spend a full lifetime thinking about, even when I'm gardening, of how the light is falling on the tomato plants, or how the light is falling on the fish, and or where I'm at, and is there something absurd or funny walking past me in today's traffic? It's everywhere and nowhere. You know, it's how we see the world. It's how we look through these viewers we have. And today is such an amazing time because we all have cameras in our pockets, and we can all take these quite awesome photographs with these instruments that are all part of our phones. I see one right now, and there she goes. It's an amazing thing to be able to capture an image and to share it instantly. I take pictures of things when I need to go grocery shopping and I need to know what was that shampoo that I liked, what was that product, and I will take photos of that shampoo bottle, and so that when I get to the Walgreens, I'll remember what the heck I was supposed to bring home. So there are a million reasons to take photographs. So for me, it's necessary. It's part of who I am. It's part of what I do. But let's talk about some other reasons to do that. I want to capture moments. This little dude is only going to be this age for a nanosecond. He's being raised by his grandparents and probably not having a great experience with mom and dad. But at Grandma and Grandpa's house, as we all know, everything changes and the rules go out the window. But he's only going to be 4 years old for an instant. And so for me, that little sparkle may or may not last. That little devious twinkle in his eyes is there. My job, my request that day, was to get these official portraits of him. Well, I'll be darned, I got 2 or 3, and then we played for the rest of the afternoon and had absolutely nothing to do with stiff, formal images. It was about having a good time, and I hope that I've translated having a good time into that image. It's not about what photographers do is line them up and hose them down. It's not about gathering everybody up and standing at attention. It's about enjoying that moment and engaging your subject and engaging what's out in front of you and just really enjoying that moment. The photography is second.
No, it's all good. I'm loud. I have 2 little kids. I can be loud. No, does anyone, I was wondering if anyone could tell me what they see in the picture. What do they see? I mean, I see clearly, what Jerry's saying, the joy, the happiness, this little boy. But is this, anyone else? Yeah.
I see, sparkle in his eyes. It's very calm and comfortable with the person.
Nice. Beautiful. Oh, okay.
She said, in fact, here, I'll give you the microphone, I'll let you speak that.
Oh, well, okay.
It's okay, I should share the love there, the microphone.
Well, thank you. Okay, well, what I see is sparkle in his eyes. He's very calm. He's very comfortable with the person taking his pictures. He's having a great time.
He does look comfortable, huh? And yet we have no attachment to him whatsoever, but we can make up our own story, even though we don't have any memory attached to what this specific moment is.
I noticed that he's wearing...
Excuse me. Hello?
Oh.
I can't see very good. I can't see the screen.
They're saying that they can't see the screen.
It's got nothing to do with it.
I'm glad you said hello. I had no idea. Hi. Well, good, thank you.
How about the presentation? They have it. They have a presentation. Can I still?
Should I just go along with the PowerPoint?
Yes, they say that the PowerPoint is in that first image, that image is in the PowerPoint. It's the little boy with the hat.
Good, I'm glad you said something. Wonderful. Welcome.
Okay, so I see that he's wearing Western wear, and that maybe he likes to be a cowboy, and although that hat is not a cowboy hat, he might be pretending that it is.
Nice. Beautiful.
And that hat's on sideways.
That's what I was thinking.
And we're actually at the barn where there's sheep and horses. So it was a great day for this little guy. So hopefully that's what I've translated. And hopefully, when the little guy is 30 or 40 or 50 and, he's showing photos of his grandson, that it will still be around and we can still talk about those moments, and hopefully I see that little guy's history.
Sorry, I segued, but this is something else that we talked about giving these moments. away. Jerry and I were talking about, so when we were preparing for this, she showed me a picture of her brother that she'd taken when he was,
1967, he was 5, I think.
and she's waiting for his birthday to come up to give that to him. So what an opportunity to give a photo, to give a memory, to create a new memory.
So from his older sister, he got an email at the crack of dawn, said, "Happy birthday, little brother," and there's a photo of him looking ridiculous that only his big sister would appreciate. So there's lots of things and lots of ways to use images. And so it was a simple text, you know, there was no postage, but it's, hey, I'm thinking of you, it's happy birthday, you know, I hope you have a great day. So there's lots of things and lots of ways. So I'm stumbling down one morning for breakfast in San Diego, and I stumble upon this. And so it's just to talk about, look what I found, look what I saw. I mean, how absurd. And then the university professors saw it, and then they wanted to use it to talk about the invasive, whatever it is. I'm sure someone else knows, and how much harm they do to this particular kind of flower. And it ended up getting used in a textbook about why we need to not have these guys chomping our flowers. But there's lots of ways to interpret it. For me, it was a happy moment of what a wonderful contrast of colors. Who would imagine that they would be attracted to such a thing? For me, it was about composition and color and happy and pop, and it just makes me think of this very happy breakfast and very happy walk. So for me, it's one thing, and for others, like the scientists, it was very different. So. How about you guys? Do you have any thoughts on this image?
I'm with you. The color, I lived in San Diego, so I remember seeing lots of flowers, and we had a beautiful garden, and with the hummingbirds and the snails. It was just part of the environment, and we enjoyed it very much.
It reminds you of San Diego, a home.
Yes.
Nice.
Well, one of my
One of your homes.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we're all Vegas, we're all transplant.
Could you tell us what your settings were and what kind of camera you use?
You know what? That's an iPhone.
That was an iPhone?
Absolutely. More of these are iPhone pictures than not. I'm on vacation, guys. I'm not carrying my big camera. Nobody's paying me, and it's heavy. And I could take it and share it and move along. And you know, the world is an amazing place right now. What cameras can do that are built into your telephones are simply amazing, and they are going to continue to get better and better. That little critter was not moving very fast, so I had a good percentage. What is that little critter?
It's a snail.
It's a snail, but I haven't a clue what flavor it is.
Escargot.
Yes, escargot. And apparently it's bad for the flowers, because it chomps them. I thought it was lovely. And for a desert kid, it was insane that a snail would be in such a place. So.
An opportunity.
An opportunity. And again, for the iPhone or the Android phone, it's not moving. So my odds are pretty good. Did I take one picture? No, I probably took about 50. I moved to the left, I moved to the right. There were hot pink flowers, and there were another color of flowers. I want to say a purplish, darker purplish. My friend from San Diego probably knows the flower colors, but like I said, I probably took 50 pictures. If you're a friend of mine, you sort of have to just be patient with me. When we go on vacation, I'm very bad about being on time because for me it's about the light, it's about the atmosphere, and a lot of times I'm a very poor travel person. Moving on. To hold on to memories. You know, this is my mother and grandmother. My glasses are on order. There's no doubt where I come from. But this is a treasured moment for me. This is one of those line them up and hose them down moments. But for me, it's a treasure of my grandmother she was about 91 there. And she grew up in this area. You can see the trees in the backgrounds. And so her family raised sheep in this area. And so for me, it's about a continuity of that time.
You know, when I look at this, I love hearing what was happening, but what do you think was happening just before this picture was taken? What do you think was happening just before? Lunch. I don't know. What kind of sounds do you hear? You're on a hike.
That's what I
Ah, good. See, it's so different. See, for me, I'm hearing a party, like a family gathering, and they stepped aside for a minute in a beautiful clearing. I can't believe that's in Vegas. It looks like aspens.
Southern Utah.
Okay, I mean, it looks like aspens, you know, and I'm imagining all this noise of kids running around and the smells of food and fresh air, and hearing birds and kids' voices, and we're just going to take this one moment to get together and take a family photo.
So
I love that.
Great. Moving on. To tell stories. I mean, who would remember such a thing, and who would believe that I actually caught that fish? But you know, it's telling me about fall, and it's about one of the great good days of my life. And if you're a fisherman, you completely understand. If you're not, you're completely bothered by the killing of this delicious guy. But for me, it's a great good day. So, and hopefully, the person who captured that with an iPhone also.
Was that Panguitch?
That is, you're a fisher person. That is actually Yankee Meadow up in southern Utah. I'm going to move along. When was the last time you saw anybody wearing that kind of a hat? Feeling? You know, absolutely Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
And to share. And you know, one of the great things about your cameras on your telephones is that you can immediately share them. So, I'm getting the high sign from. So let's talk about some images that are not about me and not about my family and where I come from. But let's talk about, you know, creating your own story. And these are images that I was asked to shoot to translate a story. And we can talk about, how do you feel?
Cold. Cold, huh? Cold. My toes are cold, just looking at that, huh?
What is the air like? Do you feel like you're the first person who's maybe been here? It makes me feel lonely, frankly. It also makes me feel of renewal, and that this one little pine off in the distance is kind of setting the stage for the future. You can see in the background that some of the trees have sort of had a hard life, and so there's maybe the youngin is coming up to lead the charge.
Oh, I love that you said that.
I find it very peaceful.
Yeah.
Peaceful. How about this? Before I talk, what are your thoughts of that?
Tradition.
Tradition?
Tranquil.
Tranquil.
Do you smell? Can you smell? You hear? Is it a pipe or is it a flute? It's a pipe.
It's a pipe.
Pipe. Why? I want to know why. Why is he out there by himself?
Do you want to know the answer?
Yeah.
It's a autumnal equinox out in a sacred place. I went for the light, and I stumbled back to my car. It was a bit of a hike, and I saw this way off in the distance, absolutely at twilight. And this is not taken with an iPhone. I would have had to get much closer. And so I felt it was not my position to impose my presence into this moment, which I know nothing of. I felt that it was that person's moment that I needed to honor and respect and to allow that space.
No, it's just nice to look at, to hear what the memory is behind the photo, but also to create our own stories.
So again, these were used in different magazines for different products. This one is a personal image. What do you feel?
I'm traveling.
Travel.
I'm choking. It's like we went from that beautiful open space to like a city. I felt it's a little harder to breathe.
Maybe Rome.
Yeah, Europe somewhere.
Questions about where we're at? Do you feel a light? Feel a light touching, and do you feel the haze from the traffic?
I like the blue of the vehicle.
The vehicle in the blue. Any guesses on where that's at?
Cuba?
It is Cuba. Cuba about 5 years ago. So,
It's beautiful, the blue.
a question, what? Was it in the morning time? If you know me, if you know Jerry Cody, she don't do mornings. I know this is afternoon.
There's a mural on the wall. Did you do another? There's a mural on the wall. Did you do another?
There's a mural on the wall. Yes, in Cuba there are great murals, and yes, and very different. Showing the mural with the vintage car rolling by.
All the color of the buildings.
Actually, a little side story. They have a lot of European cars that we can't get, and so they're teeny and they're very efficient. But there's a ton of these old cars. But I kind of had to work to make sure that I didn't get any of the new cars.
How do you keep from being hit?
Things don't move real fast, and there's lots of people moving through traffic.
That's a good question because you're imagining that it's coming. You're imagining, right? It's not right.
Absolutely. She's saying it looks like a quiet afternoon. And, you know, it was really every day in the life of these folks. If you look, there's someone up on the balcony, you know, watching the world go by. There's a gentleman sitting on the sidewalk, just hanging out. It's daily life. It was very hot in Cuba. It doesn't really translate. But it's 95 and the humidity is very high and things don't move real fast.
What year?
About 5 years ago.
More cars now.
Probably. Though
More tourists.
more tourists, more American tourists, and let me tell you, if you have the opportunity, it's an amazing place.
Before it gets really crowded.
It's amazing. Well, you know, the Europeans are already there. They've been coming. When we came over, there were lots of Brits. There were lots of French.
Canadians.
Yeah, the Canadians. Anyway, moving on.
Oh, I love this one. She goes, I love this picture. I love this picture. So for me, you know, I see so much about a person in just this little macro photography. I don't even know. It's not really it's gorgeous. I mean, her nails. The fact that she's painted them, but look at they're cracked. Her skin. But you know, we can see. You know, what do you see? What do you see?
Old lady.
You know, yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Anyone else?
I see an old lady that still has style.
Absolutely. There you go.
Oh, an old lady that still has style.
Right.
Darn too. She's been in the sun a lot.
She's been in the sun. That's
I don't know.
right.
I haven't been in the sun, but I'm not aging well.
Where do you think she just? Why? Her hands are folded. I wonder what she's doing. with a red dress on. Where she just came from, or is she waiting? Or is-
Well, she's sitting with her legs underneath, with the bar underneath. She's resting her arms on
Oh,
a
she
bar
was
of
resting on
some
a
kind.
bar.
So I'm not sure if she's, I can't help it.
Watching a parade.
Yeah, something.
She could be watching a parade. She could be watching a parade. Sherry's nodding. Anyone else?
She had her nails done a long time ago.
She's
Oh, only about a month ago.
I think she could be holding something.
You know what? The pain goes right up to the quick, though. It just might be that she's got a hard life. That she uses them. She's been doing a lot of washing or laundry, maybe. They're broken.
She's wearing her best dress.
All right. Should we hear the truth? Oh, go ahead.
I see a lady who loves life.
A lady who loves life. So this is back to Cuba. I have no language skills. I have photography skills, but I have absolutely no language skills. I have no idea, other than I saw this beautiful human being. I was completely attracted to her. She was completely comfortable with her surroundings. I asked for permission. May I? And she said, yeah, sure. And there was no spoken word. It was all body language and smiles and, thank yous. But it was clear this gal had style. This gal was carrying it on. And at the time, she was about my grandmother's age, so... Hello. I was certainly attracted to her, but you could tell that those hands have seen some things, those hands have done some things, but she's got it going on. I mean, who wears purple with that red? And that was a loud print skirt she had on it. It sang.
And she has arthritis.
She has arthritis.
I think she's cradling them in hand.
Her hands could be hurting and she's cradling them.
She's cradling them.
Or
She's
cold.
put bangles on. Do you think she's left them on? Or do you think they're always on? Or do you think she put them on this morning and struggled to get them over?
Where were you?
Where was I? I was on a street. I was lost, frankly. I have no idea where I was at in Cuba.
Where was she? Was in Cuba.
Pardon?
Where was she?
She was on her front porch. It was not up high. It was down low, maybe just a few feet up. But she was on her front porch, and she was watching the ridiculous tourists, my husband and myself, and was being amused by it all. We were truly lost, and having a good time with it all.
I think it's very important that you ask permission. I've traveled all over the world, and photography was one of my things, and you ask permission.
You say that from the beginning.
I've done a lot of traveling, and it is very important to ask their permission because in foreign countries, especially Eastern countries, they get very upset. If you ask, maybe yes, maybe no, or from a long distance, one of the two. And up close, I like your up close.
Thank you. I feel that way personally too, because in Las Vegas, we're being photographed all the time too, and I really feel differently if the person's asked and explains what they're there for. And in this case, I couldn't communicate with her other than to say what my intentions were and would I be okay. And afterwards, I very much thanked her and honored her. And
Did you get one of her face?
no.
That would have been interesting.
Her face was not for me. It was about her hands and her body. So
I'd like to know the etiquette of whether, if somebody indicates they'd like to receive some money.
Oh, like in Vegas.
Not that kind, but when you're a tourist someplace and you just encounter somebody like this and maybe she puts her hand out.
So my Jerry Cody's etiquette is if someone's going to ask for money, I'm not going to go there for the most part. There are too many wonderful things to see and do. I would typically pass on that. My husband and I have had good conversations about this, and there are some reservations, Native American reservations, where they'll make a lifetime or a career out of going to the cemetery and asking in outfits. I don't find myself interested in that because it's false to me, and it's for play. It's for, you know, I've dressed up and I'm going to hit my mark and perform for you, and for me, that doesn't interest me. So a lot of times, if they're making a career out of it and you can see that life is tough, I'll give them some money and say no thank you for the photos. But I also am aware that I'm probably not helping the situation. So that's a very few and far between moment. Most of the times I just pass it. That's kind of a key to me knowing that it's a performance. It's not real. So, but I will always ask. If I don't have the language skill, through my gestures, through your words, through my actions, I can ask that question and get their blessing or their denial. And if you get that turned down, let it go. The world is full of wonderful things. If that, I respect that person's privacy.
Well, I'm hearing you say, Joyce, you prefer organic material. Yeah.
And the world is so full of so many grand things that there's so much to see. Be it the way that a baseball hat is held or the eyeglasses are on. There's so much.
I know we need to keep going through, but I do want to say, you know, when you talked about taking the picture of her face, it's a whole other story, isn't it? If we knew what her face looked like, as opposed to, now we can imagine, we can create a new story from this. And, you know, whereas the face is so immediate recognition. But it's just interesting on her perspective to choose the hands.
How are we feeling? How's that guy's day?
Is it Venice?
Is it Venice? Yeah, it's actually Venice. So where else? It's not the Strip. We don't have those atmospherics. But how's that guy's day going? Is he having the way he's holding his body? For me, he felt like it was not a grand day, and life was kind of heavy for him.
He's transporting people, though.
Yeah, he's moving tourists through. But again, for me, it's about the atmospherics. It's about the light and the feeling and the fog and it was cold. And the way the light hit the water, and you see those little sparkly moments on the water behind him.
I like what you have in the foreground too, the two posts.
And if you see that the foreground has the blue hood on it, so you can feel how monotone and muted the world was. I could have easily taken that to black and white and taken it to monochrome, but I chose to leave that color in there so that you could feel that I've not lied, that I've communicated what I saw. Anybody know this guy? This gal?
Recognize?
How do they feel about one another?
It does look like his daughter, though.
Young wife.
It is Tony Curtis. And it's his wife. His last, what's it? His last wife, yes. His most recent, before he passed, wife. It was clearly a personal, private moment. He was at the university for a display of his artwork. And I was up above trying to give them space because it was their personal moment to view their the gallery. And again, I'm removing myself from this situation. This did not make anything of the university's publication. It is not in the university's files. Back to privacy and permissions. Clearly, this is a tender moment, and this was, a little sacred conversation. My job at the university was to talk about his artwork, and we were bringing him in for the Hall of Fame dinner for fine arts, and he had a show, and so it had absolutely nothing to do with, this image had nothing to do with that show. I sent it via a friend to him and his wife, and then the next thing you know, I got requests for the use of it. Long story short, if you see the photos from the funeral service, it's up printed very large next to the casket. It made an impact on the family, and it was very close to the end. But he was still like, you could tell, he was all over the women in the room, and he was so gregarious and so alive. But if you call the university and ask for that image, it's not in their files. It's in the Curtis family files. So.
How old was he?
How old was he? I don't know.
How old was she?
You can do a little Google search on ages. I don't know, but I'll tell you what. They were in love, and they were a wonderful couple. She is about saving wild horses, and he was all about supporting her, and she him, and it worked. So I'm not the one to decide. Let's talk about this guy.
Bridges of Madison County, maybe?
It looks like that. Good. Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
Just because he looks like he's well-traveled.
He does. He looks like he could be Robert
He could
Kincaid.
be wearing those suspenders, and he was probably about the right age.
It's a nice close-up shot too. Oh, we can see his teeth. He's got some nice glasses on though. We can see. Without knowing or offending his family. Yeah. What else? What else do you see?
He's a farmer.
It's ageless.
Looks like he's wearing a backpack
Yeah, probably.
or a camera pack, a satchel, like he's traveling or
Looks
something.
like he's ageless.
He does, huh?
Enjoying whatever he's doing.
Yes, huh?
Looks happy.
Looks happy, content. Yeah. Kind of wise. I don't know, maybe just the gray and the beard and the glasses, but those are things that we see. Jerry's captured. It's very tight. It's a very tight close-up shot.
I think close is better.
I like it.
Someone said close is better. Famous war photographer Robert Capadide, he had a famous line, if your pictures aren't good enough, you're not close enough. So, just food for thought.
Nice.
So, it doesn't matter where I'm at, it doesn't matter what we're doing. I'll tell you that he's alive and he's got this wonderful joy. And he kind of reminds me of that first photo of the little boy with his hat backwards. That sparkle. There's something going on behind those eyes. And I was in a raft going down the Colorado Canyon, on the Colorado River, through the middle of the Grand Canyon, and we are about to go over a big rapid. And he is lining things up, and look at him, there's not an ounce of stress. I'm completely comfortable because he's completely comfortable. He is just digging it, and he's living the life. And so for me, he's fully engaged in the world, and those are the moments for me that I want to know about. When a person is totally engaged with the world and totally, whatever it is, if it's cooking bacon or petting a dog, that there's some connection with what's going on, and that there's some little sparkle back there that I want to know about it. So, he has had a really hard life, and he's spent most of his life on the Grand Canyon. And so,
Looked like he got a ding out of his one front tooth.
yes, sir, might have had a little dental issue now and again. But boy, we see the sparkle in the guy's eyes, and we see the joy. And again, I am absolutely comfortable with about the rapid I'm about to go over, just because look at him. He's completely comfortable with the situation and the surroundings.
You
So-
survived.
He knows something he doesn't want to tell.
Oh yeah, he may know something.
That's the look on his face.
His hat's on awful tight.
Yeah, his hat is absolutely on tight, because we're about to plunge 25 or 30 feet.
He can't wait to see how many people will leave the boat at that
Yeah,
point.
how many people are about to get ejected. Absolutely, it was a good time. So let's talk about when you've got these wonderful tools of your phone camera or whatever camera you've got in your hands. Let's talk about some things to think about. We've kind of covered it, but good photography has virtually nothing to do with the kind of camera you've got. You can use the iPhone for that snail picture. I didn't, but the picture before could have easily been taken of my boatman friend or of my lady in Cuba with an iPhone. You've got these powerful tools in your pockets. We carry them with us wherever we go. They're a powerful tool. So it doesn't matter what kind of camera you've got. So good photography has absolutely little to do with good photographies. Taking good photos or decent photos or interesting photos has to do with recognizing what you've got and then making the most of it. Here are 3 professional photographers out in the field seeing entirely different things. One guy's got a really long lens, I'm looking down. The other lady is not necessarily using a tripod in the appropriate manner, but we're all pointing in other directions. It's about having your own vision. It's about seeing your own thing, doing your own thing. Poppy season coincides with spring, and they had a very high rattlesnake population that year. And if you look at how we're standing on paths, and we very much know what's under our feet. So the backstory of that is to know that it was rattlesnake season, and everywhere we went, we were warned about rattlesnakes. So anyhow, we were very gingerly standing, looking at these little poppies. So take your cameras out and use them. Use them for whatever amuses you, whatever is interesting. Take a moment before you take that photo. That man has a lovely party hat. My husband's rear end probably wasn't essential to the image, but it was about that moment of that nice man. How many times have we got palm trees growing out of someone's head? Take a half second, take a moment. It's amazing what will happen if you move to the left or move to the right. Whenever I see a scene, often I'll walk around it. Take a minute. Usually if it's a fleeting moment, I take it no matter what. And then once I have that first 10 pictures of the snail, work on it a minute. Change your viewpoint. Back to the poppies. I stumbled upon this, and as you saw, it was sort of windblown where we were at. We had traveled several hours to get there. Those poppies in those first 2 pictures I showed you, they look pretty sad and pretty windblown and pretty beat up. And we found this one little area that hadn't had a bunch of wind. There was a little hill. And so we were pretty excited, and I was darn happy with this picture that we had traveled, 5 or 6 hours to get to. But then I spent a few minutes and took a deep breath, and I walked around the picture, walked around the poppies clockwise, and then anal retentive Jerry goes anti-clockwise. And here's what I ended up finding. Just spend a minute and take a look at what's there for you. Take a minute and explore that image.
Such a different story. One looks like survival, the growth, the beauty, these flowers come out. These flowers bloomed, the ones underneath it. You know, it's such a different concept of what you're showing in each one. And then the blue sky.
And literally taken 3 or 4 minutes apart. So I just found the blue sky poppies on a little bank, and I was down on the ground and looked up and went, oh my goodness, that works for me. So change your viewpoint and take a look around. It's a lot like life, just change your viewpoint. So the best camera, hands down, is the one you've got in your pocket, the camera you've got with you. You've got an amazing instrument, you've got an amazing tool with you, pretty much all the time. And how you use it is for you. But to just take a moment and realize you have this powerful tool with you. I leave you with a couple of rules. The photographers talk about the rule of thirds and where you place your subject. If you go back and look at those early images of the lone pine tree in the snow, or any of the photos with the cars, I've got it off to the rule of thirds. It's off to one of those intersections. When you think about where you're placing your subject, think about the rule of thirds and thinking about putting it off center. Think about where you put your horizon. Do you put your horizon dead center? It feels very static if you do that. But if you place the horizon on one of those 2 horizontal lines, it's generally more powerful. So think about the rule of thirds. And the last image I will leave you with is to give you free license to break every rule. There are no rules for good photographs. There's only good photographs. So feel free to absolutely break every rule in the book if it works for you, if it makes you happy, if it tells your story. My lady with her hands was not used with the rule of thirds, but for me it works. And so think about those rules and then feel completely licensed to break every one of them. If it makes you happy, that's all that matters.
Does anyone have any questions? Questions, concerns, comments?
Do you have any tips for photographing dogs?
Photographing dogs,
Tips, treats, and an able assistant. I would, if it was a cat, I would suggest duct tape, but that would be inhumane. But especially for your dogs, if they're your dogs, you know your dogs.
Well,
You know
get
your.
all 3 together. I can't get a picture of all 3 of them at once.
There will be a moment. How about when you're fixing dinner? When you're preparing to feed them? How about when you're about to have dinner? Are they a little more attentive? If they know they're about to go to the park for a car ride, are they a little more attentive? So I would leverage those moments. Having a good assistant is also a very good thing. And if they know that there's dog treats in your pockets, it helps. So.
Questions?
What kind of camera do you have?
What kind of camera do I have? A big black one that's heavy and makes my back hurt. That's a Canon EOS 1DX. It doesn't matter though. It doesn't matter. I take pictures for the Smith Center Education Department, and they require that I am able to capture movement at very high amounts and in very low light. So they're the reason that my back hurts. And I treasure them.
How high
How high, what?
was the speed?
Oh, it goes 32,000 ISO now. The technology today is insane, and it continues to get better. I mean, we live in an amazing time with amazing technologies. However, your phone your camera and your phone does amazing things as well. So. All right, you guys have given a great audience. I appreciate your attention.
And before we thank them, we'll get there. We hope that you can kind of see the thread we're trying to draw here, that you can go to a Broadway musical, you can read a book, you can watch a movie, you can listen to a song, you can look at a photograph, and all of them have some element of a story behind them. Some might be longer, some might be shorter. But we hope that this will kind of inspire you to look at photographs a different way, to maybe be a little more brave with taking your own photographs, to document your own lives and share with your families or with your friends, whatever it may be. We're going to take a group selfie, I guess.
I was going to say, will you all wave?
Of course.
Don't step backward.
Thank you, guys. You took like 5.
So there, now we have a memory of what just happened. So please do help me thank Kate and Jerry for this wonderful presentation.